Everybody, thank you very much for joining us today, and thank you for your patience. We had a couple of technical issues when we were starting, but we're all good now, so thank you very much. My name's Melissa. I'm the Director of Sales for Travel2 based in New York, and joining me today I have my West Coast colleague Andrew Bartholomew and my colleague in the north, Leah Marvin, up in Canada. And today we are going to be taking you through our favourite islands of all the places that we visit in the South Pacific. So I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. We have a lot of new members joining us today, and we've got over 100 of you on the webinar today, so thank you all very much for joining. We will be having Q&A at the end, so if you do think of any questions during the course of the webinar, please type your questions in the message box, and Andrew, Leah and myself will answer those at the end of the presentation. If we do run out of time, because as I said there are lots of you on board, we will answer any of your questions directly by email by the end of the day today. So without further ado, I thought I would just quickly give you a quick Travel to an Islands in the Sun 101. If you've been on our webinars before, you will have seen or heard most of this previously, so I'm going to run through pretty quickly, but just for the new members. Travel to an Islands in the Sun are the trade brands of Qantas Vacations, who you may have known us as previously before. Sister companies, but we do not deal with the public. We only deal with travel agents. The reason why we've used the Travel to an Islands in the Sun brand name is because Qantas doesn't fly to a lot of the South Pacific destinations that we sell anymore, and we need to be able to sell all carriers to the South Pacific and not be restricted in any way, such as Air New Zealand, Fiji Airways, Air Tahiti Nui, Virgin Australia, etc., Hawaiian Airlines. But it is the same great product and professionalism that you've come to expect from the Qantas Vacations team. Excuse me. And they also service Travel to an Islands in the Sun. We have a dedicated groups department. We also work with our own ground support teams within our destinations, and we pay the top commission at source in the market. All of our reservations team are destination experts. Their bios, the res team who just look after the Ensemble members, we have their bios on the Ensemble extranet for you. It shows their places of birth, where they visited on fam trips. For each one, it has their direct line and their direct email address. So you can really see that everybody is a destination expert, and you're more than welcome to contact them direct anytime for anything at all that you need. The other thing that we take very seriously is our documentation. We believe very strongly if somebody's spending 10 or 20 grand, they don't want to be walking away with an email. So everybody gets a good quality documentation pack. It's based on the tapu, the bark fabric painting that's done by the women in the villages in Fiji. They get their luggage tags, their voucher and itinerary covers, all singing, all dancing. We also put in a little gift from the destination as well. We also have our own air consolidation department. So if you've got passengers who are doing air only, if they're corporate, if they're visiting their children studying abroad, you can call through to our air consolidation department, and we can look after any of their requirements for them at net. We've had 3 great Ensemble exclusive fam trips this year. New Zealand travelled in July, Australia excuse me, travelled in August, and we'll be heading off to Tahiti in December. So our first round of Tahiti invitations have already gone out, and I'm pleased to say that We've got lots of the members on board who are coming to Tahiti with me in December on the webinar today. So welcome to all of you. The itinerary is almost finished, and we will be sending out our second round of invitations within the next day or two. If you would like to join one of our FAM trips in the future, I suggest that you register for TRIP, which is our Travel Rewards and Incentive Program. You can find a link to TRIP in the follow-up email after the webinar. Once you've registered for TRIP, you don't need to do anything else. We track your bookings, we report the scorecard. When FAM trips become available, they're offered to TRIP members first. All your bookings qualify for TRIP, whether it be FIT, fully escorted coach tours, air only, pre and post cruising. Anything that you sell at all will go towards your opportunity to visit the South Pacific with us on a FAM trip. I also suggest that you sign up to becoming a South Pacific specialist with Ensemble. You'll find all the information for that on extranet. It will then give you the links to the training programs for New Zealand, Tahiti, Fiji and Australia, and then you can become a destination specialist. You finish your specialist training in destination. So that's all linked to the FAM program as well. At the end of today's webinar, we'll be putting everybody's names into a hat and drawing out one lucky winner, who we will announce also in the follow-up email that you will be getting before the end of the day. That lucky winner, today's webinar winner, will go into a draw to win a seat on next year's Amazing Aussie Adventure, which is our big FAM trip that we do in July, August every year. So that's the Company 101 in a nutshell. Of course, anybody who is new, who would like some more information on what we do and how we do it, please feel free to contact Andrew, Leah or myself at any time. Our contact details will be available again at the end of the webinar. So to kick off our favourite islands, I'm sure you thought we were going to be dragging you all around Tahiti or the Cooks, but I'm delighted to say that most of our favourite islands are located in my favourite island, Australia. So Leah is going to start us off with her two favourite islands, Kangaroo Island and the big island of Tasmania. Then we're going to be travelling up the New South Wales coast, then to the Queensland Whitsundays, and then we're going to be finishing off in Fiji. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Leah.
Wonderful. Thanks, Mel, and g'day everyone, and thank you for joining us today. It's my pleasure to show you two of my favorite, absolute favorite spots in Australia. The first one being Kangaroo Island. Now, Andrew, can you give me control, please? Just bear with us for a second while we just switch controls. You know, we're coming to you from 3 different parts of North America, so here we go. Okay, Kangaroo Island. Now, Kangaroo Island is, again, one of my favorite islands to send clients to, especially if you have families traveling. It's a wonderful island full of wildlife and diversity for your clients to enjoy. Now, most itineraries, what you're going to do is you're going to fly into Adelaide, spend a night in Adelaide, and then go to Kangaroo Island. Now, some clients will ask you just to have a day tour to Kangaroo Island, and I just want to let you know that I highly suggest to do at least 1 night or 2 there. A day tour, you can get in some highlights, but it's a full day, it's a little rushed, and there's so many different things to see on Kangaroo Island that it definitely warrants a night or 2 for your clients to stay there. Now, the weather itself, as you know, Australia's seasons are reversed from ours. So you're going to have the lows in our summer and the highs, obviously, in our winter. Now, you can see the highest point here is about 23.7, so say roughly about 25 degrees, which is very, very beautiful climate to be traveling in. Now there's two different ways to get to Kangaroo Island. One is a flight from Adelaide or a ferry on SeaLink. And you can see here that it would be a ferry from Cape Jervis down to Penishaw. Now the way to get here is that you would coach from Adelaide, come down to Cape Jervis, and then you would cross on the ferry. That whole journey takes about 2 hours in total, and that's including a 45-minute ferry ride to Penishaw. Now, daily flights are available, and they're roughly about 30 minutes, so it's completely up to your clients how they want to travel. Of course, they would see some of the countryside doing the coach to ferry to get over to Kangaroo Island. Now, while on Kangaroo Island, there's many different things to see and do, but the major draw here is the wildlife. All of Kangaroo Island is comprised of huge national parks like Flinders Chase National Park, which is this image right here, and you will see mobs of kangaroos. So this is a highlight for clients when they want to see wildlife. Definitely send them to Kangaroo Island. Of course, it's not just about the kangaroos. There's many different wildlife available around here, like koalas, echidnas, seals. Now, you would go down to Seal Bay. Any of the day tours or, of course, the 1- and 2-night excursions will take you down to Seal Bay. And this is, it definitely is my highlight of Kangaroo Island. You can see how close your clients get to the wildlife here. And the way it happens is basically they're going to go down as a day tour group, so roughly about 40 people, and the guides will break you up into smaller groups like what you're seeing on this image here, so that you don't intimidate the wildlife. And you're in their habitat. It is so amazing. They can walk anywhere they want to walk. And I've been there where I've had a seal standing right next to me. Just absolutely incredible and great photo opportunities. Of course, you're going to learn about their daily rituals, and there are excursions where you can go out and swim with the sea lions as well. So that's a really great opportunity if your clients are spending more of an extended time in the area. There's dolphin adventures available. Of course, these are just excursions, so it would be more like an hour cruise to see the dolphins. There's pelican feeding. And, of course, there's lots of national parks and beautiful scenery along the way. Now, in the national parks, there are many different photo opportunities like the remarkable rocks that you can get up close and personal with, and, of course, get some really beautiful sweeping views of the ocean as well. Now, we use Kangaroo Island Odysseys. There's several different operators that we use, but the Odysseys have such a broad range of experiences, from the Seal Bay to highlights of Kangaroo Island itself, to doing more of the marine life. So it really depends on what your clients are looking for in their Kangaroo Island experience. Now, there's a variety of accommodation from moderate, which would be like your Ozone Hotel, right up to your high-end luxury, which is the Southern Ocean Lodge. Absolutely beautiful accommodation, looking over the ocean, and there's views from every area of this accommodation. Restaurants, it's not about fine dining here. You don't have to get all dressed up. They have an award-winning chef out here, but it's very casual. And again, Kangaroo Island, like I said, is fantastic for families. And if you have families that are looking for that luxury, then this is a great option for them as well, because the rooms are quite large. There's lounge areas around, and of course, there's a spa available as well. Now, starting with the accommodation, you have Flinders Suites. Now, like I said, everything has a view. So you have the Flinders Suites. That's good for a couple. You've got the Ocean Retreat, which has a little bit of a separated bedroom area and living area. Again, beautiful views. You have the Ocean Premium, which can fit 3 adults. And then you have also the Osprey Pavilion, which is one of the largest accommodations, along with the remarkable suites you could see are a couple different bedrooms. Now, just beautiful accommodation, and if your clients are into high-end luxury, then definitely let us know, because we can give you rates on this. And I had to throw an image in here to show you the bathrooms, because they're so modern. And again, like I said, from every aspect of this accommodation, you're going to have a beautiful view. Now, on our website, we have a 5-day Adelaide and Kangaroo Island package, starting at $25.49 USD and $23.79 Canadian. And this includes 2 nights in Adelaide at a standard accommodation, 3 3-day tour to Kangaroo Island includes, so that's 2 nights accommodation, round-trip scenic flight, 2 days of 4-wheel drive touring on Kangaroo Island, and 2 breakfasts and 3 lunch. Now, 4-wheel drive touring is really the way to do Kangaroo Island because you're going to be able to get into those national parks and, you know, go through the rivers and all sorts of fun stuff. Now, also when you're on Kangaroo Island, right in the middle of Kangaroo Island, Odyssey sets up for a lunch there, and it's a big barbecue lunch, so it's really fantastic. You've got kangaroos hopping around you, you've got koalas up in the tree, and you're enjoying a barbecue lunch. So again, these are options that are available through Travel 2. Now on to my second favorite place in Australia, and that's Tasmania. Now, Tasmania is really like a mini New Zealand. Very easy to get around, and if your clients don't have the time to get all the way over to New Zealand, then you know it's a great option for them to go to Tasmania. I mean, you can do Tasmania several different ways, from self-drives to touring, and there are the major gateway into Tasmania is Hobart. You can get there from Melbourne, Canberra, Sydney, and Brisbane and Gold Coast as well. So many opportunities for flights into Hobart. Now, there's an alternate route. You can also do the Spirit of Tasmania, which goes from Melbourne to Devonport twice daily, so 7 a.m. and 9 p.m., and, of course, departs once a day from Devonport back to Melbourne. Now, again, with that option, your clients need to have the time within their itinerary. I find most people that are putting in Tasmania into their itinerary only spend 4 days. Real shame, because they're only going to see Hobart and Port Arthur and a couple other small spots, whereas Tasmania really warrants several days on an itinerary. Now, if your clients don't have the time, like I said, you need to fly them instead of taking the time to do the ferry transfer, as it is an overnight. It takes up quite a chunk of their itinerary. Sorry, let me just go back to temperatures here. So again, reverse seasons in Australia, and your high is about 24. So again, really great temperature to be traveling in. Now, because it is so south of Australia, there are some very cool days. Now, us Canadians, my fellow Canadians that are on the line, and of course everyone from New York as well, you are already used to these low temperatures. But the lowest temperature you're going to see is just under about 10 degrees. So still very bearable, unlike Toronto, where we can get a minus 30 degrees. Now, starting off in Hobart, like I said, it's your main gateway, and in Hobart itself, it's a beautiful little town on a bay inlet. Beautiful mountains sweeping in the background, very historical spot as well. You've got a lot of older structures in the area with, of course, the newer builds as well. So it offers quite the diverse look in architecture. But of course, Tasmania is where Australia was born. As they say, Australia was built on the backs of convicts. And we're going to talk about Port Arthur in a moment, but there's a lot of history to be seen around Tasmania. So definitely, if you've got clients going, you want to make sure to get them into like museums and all sorts of great things to enhance the historical side of their Tasmania experience. Now, also, if you're flying your clients into Hobart, try to do it for the weekend, because on Saturdays, Salamanca, that's Salamanca Street that you're looking at here, comes to life with markets, and you can get local produce, you can get local crafts as well, great for souvenirs to come home with. So remember that. Always try to fly them in to Hobart on the weekend. But again, try to bring in that, again, that element of history and get them to the art galleries. Mona is one of the most popular ones just outside of Hobart. Heritage museums are available as well. And there's historical walking tours that you can do as well. Now, on Salamanca, if you've got clients staying in Hobart, Salamanca is just riveted with restaurants and cafes, so there's plenty of dining opportunities for them in the area. If you want to book a day tour, I recommend the Harbor Cruise and Island Adventure Cruises. They're fantastic. They'll get you around Brunny Island, really incredible nature to be seen, lots of wildlife as well on the way. Now, speaking of wildlife, while your clients are in Hobart, an hour outside of Hobart is Bunurong Wildlife Park, and this is where you can get up close and personal with the Tassie Devils and learn about, you know, their hunting rituals and how they hunt as a pack, feed as a pack, and really how they live. You'll also be taught about the skin cancer that's running across the population of Tassie devils right now. It's very serious, and every dollar spent at Bonnarung Park, a portion of it goes towards saving the Tassie devils. And in fact, a lot of the wildlife sanctuaries actually do obviously give money back to those causes as well. Now, there's a variety of accommodation from moderate to deluxe, but one of my favorites is the Henry Jones Art Hotel. It's within walking distance to everything you need to see and do in Hobart. It's very modern, but still has that rustic style to it, and it's all about the artwork. There's tons of art throughout this accommodation. There's a great restaurant that even the locals go to. Room service is available. There's a cafe on site. Excuse me. And the rooms are quite spacious. Now, that's more of your high-end accommodation, but of course we have accommodation to suit all needs. Now, on to Port Arthur. Now, you can do this as a day tour from Hobart, but you can also have it included in the more like an escorted tour as well. Now, for your self-drivers, they can drive themselves to Port Arthur, and there's accommodation in the area as well if they wanted to overnight. But when they get out to Port Arthur, depending on what tour you book, it would either be a guided or self-guided. Now, as a guided, you obviously have your guide with you here that will take you from structure to structure, and you'll learn the history of the prisoners, you know, and how they farmed the lands, how they created everything around Tasmania. It's just very interesting to hear. You'll learn about the officer quarters over here, and you'll even get onto a cruise which goes to the Isle of Dead. Now, that is more about, you know, when prisoners died from scurvy, they would be buried on the Isle of Dead, and of course, if any officers died, they'd be buried at the top of the Isle of Dead. So it's a bit of a mini cruise around the island itself. Now, if you're doing a self-guided tour of Port Arthur, what happens is on arrival, they'll be given a little radio box, and it has numbers on it, and every structure that they go into, they press the number, and it will then give you the history through the headphones. Now, like I said, there's accommodation in the area as well. It's more rustic lodge accommodation, many equipped with kitchens as well. So again, if you have self-drivers coming through, this is a perfect opportunity to have them overnight in the area, especially if you have clients that are interested in something a little bit more thrilling, like a ghost tour of Port Arthur. Now, the ghost tour itself, there's several different departure times from 6 p.m. right through to 10 p.m. I highly recommend if there are adults traveling that they do the latest one, because I have seen it where kids are brought on the 6 p.m. one, and it's, you know, a little hard on them and a little scary. So definitely book the latest one of the night. And if they're staying at an accommodation very close to the vicinity, they can actually walk through the forest with flashlights. Kind of adds or enhances the overall ghost tour of Port Arthur. Now up to Strawn. Now, going from Hobart to Strawn, there is absolutely no straight roads. So it's a windy, beautiful scenic drive all the way through to Strawn. It takes about 3.5 hours to get there, and there's quite a bit in Strawn itself. Now, if you've got people that, you know, don't want to drive it because they're not used to driving on the other side of the road, then of course we can book a tour or a transfer for them. Now, Russell Falls, this is actually about midpoint between Hobart and Strawn, around Queenstown area, and it's only a 5-minute walk off the main road, and you walk through the forest, and then it opens up to this 7-tier waterfall. It is absolutely beautiful. So if you do have clients traveling in the area, recommend this stop for them. It's also an area that you might even spot the very timid platypus. From there into Strawn, now this is more of a fishing community, and there is a variety of accommodation here, but one of my favorites is the Franklin Manor. The Franklin Manor is a boutique accommodation. I'd star rated about 3.5 star, but it's got that real down-home charm to it. So again, really great for our clients. They tend to enjoy that accommodation quite a bit, especially when you give them a glass of port by the fire. While they're in the area, they can take a cruise on the Gordon River, or they can get onto a vintage rail through the West Coast wilderness. Now up from Strawn, we've got Cradle Mountain. Now Cradle Mountain is extremely popular, especially for people that enjoy hiking and nature and all that great stuff. So typically an itinerary, if people have time to spend in Tasmania, typically what they'll do is they'll go Hobart, then they'll go to Cradle Mountain, then on to Freycinet, and really get the key points of Tasmania itself. But while they're in Cradle Mountain, one of our favorite accommodations is the Peppers Cradle Mountain Lodge. It's a real forest hideaway. It's about a 4.5-star rating, and it's about the wildlife in this area too. It's just amazing how much wildlife your clients will see here. Now there's a variety of different types of cabins throughout the accommodation. There's the pencil pine cabin, and it has a real modern feel to it, and it's very close to the lake overlooking the bushland. There's also the traditional spa cabin, which is a little bit of the older look, very rustic and overlooking the treetops. Then we've got the modern spa cabins, which have just recently been refurbished. And we also have spa suites. Now, if you have a honeymoon couple with spa suite, they are really private, so a really great accommodation for honeymooners. And if you've got someone who likes luxury, then the King Billy Suite is the largest suite on the grounds. It has a separate living and sleeping area, double-sided fireplace, oversized bathroom, plus private outdoor hot tub. So if they want to spend a little bit more, they'll definitely get quite a bit more space. The lodge itself, very rustic, and it's about getting back to nature. No phones, TVs, anything like that. It's about being in the nature. And what you're looking at here is the lounge area. And the last time I was out here, I knew that the accommodation was booked out, but it didn't seem like there were a lot of people around because many people are out hiking. So if you want to stay in the lodge itself with a glass of port or a glass of wine by the fire and enjoy a game, you can definitely do that and not feel crowded by the other guests. Of course, there's a really fantastic spa, plenty of spa treatments, and it's overlooking the bushlands itself. There's an award-winning chef on site that just cooks the best lamb I've ever tasted was from Cradle Mountain. So if you have lamb lovers out there, definitely recommend that as well. Now the nature trails, there's many different nature trails around Cradle Mountain, and they can go from 20-minute hikes right up to more like 2, 3, 4-hour hikes. There's even an 8-hour hike if your clients are adventurous. So again, if you've got adventure clients, then this definitely is a great place to send them. Bear with me here, it's not changing. There we go. There's also lots of mountain biking treks in the area as well. So again, if you've got those adventure clients, then this is a perfect place. Now, if you've got somebody that's looking for more wildlife, and like I said in the beginning, there's a lot here, they're going to see things like the echidnas, wombats, Tassie devils, kangaroos, wallabies. There's tons of different wildlife in the area, and at night they come out in abundance. And when you're in your cabins, they'll come right up to your door, especially the spotted quail, as well as the possums. The possums are the most curious. They'll be looking in your windows at night. It's just unbelievable how much wildlife is in this area. From Cradle Mountain over to Launceston. Now, Launceston is a bit of a gateway, but very charming colonial town. And we can do day tours around the area, but one of the biggest draws here is Cataract Gorge. And I've had clients that go out here and they'll spend a day just in the park itself because there's plenty of things to do, from the suspended bridge to the cruise to the gondola, and there's even hang gliding in the area. Now this is a controlled hang gliding, so you don't have to be an expert or anything like that. They strap you in and you can see that it's on a wire and it goes to the bottom of the cliff, which is not that, it sounds scarier than it is. It's not that far, but it definitely is a great thrill. Now from Launceston down to Freycinet National Park. In Freycinet, one of our favorite accommodations is the Sapphire. Now from an aerial view, this has been built to look like a giant stingray, so really unique and innovative. Now at the resort itself, it has spectacular views from the lounge and again from the restaurants as well. And there's a couple different restaurants at Sapphire to take advantage of. And again, it's all casual. They don't have to dress up, but I mean, everybody likes to put a nice frock in their suitcase to wear in the evening. So completely up to your clients. Of course, there's a beautiful spa available, and there's several room-style options, all with views, but starting with the lead-in, which is actually a luxury suite. So again, this is a high-end accommodation for your clients. Now, the lead-in is luxury suite, and you can see they're very spacious. And again, they do have beautiful views. They have a bit of a terrace as well, so gorgeous accommodation. Then we've got the signature suites, much more spacious, has a living area and a sleeping area, as well as a terrace, private terrace. Then we've got the private pavilions. Now this will have a separated bedroom. You can see the terrace itself, just absolutely beautiful, unobstructed views as well. At lunchtime, they open up the barbecues and they have a big buffet, which is fantastic. And if your clients want to learn a little bit more, they can actually take in cooking demonstrations as well as mixology classes if they're interested. If they want to go oyster shucking, they can do that. And you can see they'll have a glass of wine right in the water while they shuck the oysters. There's also a winery on site, so they can do some wine tastings if they'd like. They can hire a bike and take one of the many trails in the area, or if they want to go hiking, they can. Now, same deal as Cradle Mountain. They have many different hikes ranging from 20 minutes up to several hours. So your clients need to be aware of what trail they're on. And tell them to always bring water. It can get quite hot in the day at times, especially if they're going to do this trek that you're looking at up to the lookout over Wineglass Bay. Beautiful. Wineglass Bay is gorgeous. You can spend a full day on that white silica sand. Of course, there's trails also over to Coles Bay where you're going to see these glorious red rocks, great photo opportunities. Or they can just explore the beaches at leisure and maybe take a private charter and picnic to a secluded area if you've got a clients for romance. Now, one of the most popular ways to do Tasmania is by self-drive. Now, we have preset itineraries that you can book, or they can freewheel it with hotel passes. The only thing that I suggest is that if they are freewheeling, that if they are departing anywhere between September and March, that we pre-select the accommodation. Because the high seasons yield the most travelers, the availability at the hotels is very tough. So I would never, from September to March, I would never send a client with a car and open-dated hotel passes because it could possibly be that they'd be sleeping in their car, and we don't want that. So definitely September to March, you need to book the accommodations. Another way to travel through Tasmania is by escorted coach. Now, AAT Kings, and that stands for Australian Accommodated Tours, do many different Tassie tours. So they start with a 5 or 6 day Tassie getaway, which does the East Coast, Port Arthur and Hobart area, or the Perfect Tasmania, which does a nice big loop around Tasmania. You can do 7 days, starting from Hobart and going through Cradle Mountain up to Launceston, or the 5-day wine trail, which will take you to many different wine tastings. And that's for their guided tours. So that's going to be about a 50-seater coach, and it's premium level, so it's going to be first-class accommodation. The other way you can do this, do Tasmania with AAT Kings, is through their other brand called Inspiring Journeys, which is small group touring. And small group touring is fantastic in Tasmania because it's a smaller coach and can get into areas the big coaches can't. So maximum 20 on these Inspiring Journeys, and there's a variety, as you can see, of tours available, pretty much like the ones I was just showing you, either the East Coast, the West Coast, or the whole loop around Tassie. We will have brochures coming out, AAT Kings brochures, branded with Travel Too, so we'll make sure that you all get a copy of that when it comes out. Now I'm going to hand it back to our friend Melissa in New York. Take her away, Mel. Do we still have Melissa on the line? Or Andrew?
Sorry, I had you on mute.
Oh, no worries, Mel. Okay, take it away.
Thanks, Leah. That was fantastic. You're making me feel very homesick. I love Kangaroo Island, and I absolutely adore Tasmania. And we are now heading up the coast to Lord Howe Island, which is just off the coast of Sydney. And it was one of my favourite places as a kid where we used to go for holidays. You can see that the temperature on Lord Howe Island is very temperate. The most rainfall falls in our winter in Australia, which is May, June, July and August, with the summer months being quite dry. And the temperatures ranging in the 50s to 60s in the winter and the 70s to 80s in the summer months. When I used to go to Lord Howe Island 35 to 45 years ago as a kid, we used to go by seaplane. There was no airport then, there was no runway. We used to take off in the flying boat from Rose Bay in Sydney Harbour, and we would land in the bay where the lagoon is at Lord Howe Island, and it was just an amazing experience. Now there is a full-service airport and a runway, and it's a very quick 2-hour flight from Sydney out to Lord Howe. It really is the most amazing place because it has been kept very remote, and it's very unspoilt and untouched, as you can see there. Again, like with Kangaroo Island and with Tasmania, it's a real draw card for hikers and for nature lovers and for wildlife lovers. There's fantastic water activities available. There's fabulous fishing, but you can also go snorkeling and scuba diving while you're on Lord Howe Island. You can see loggerhead turtles. There's a lot of marine life that's unique to the area, and there's also a lot of wildlife and bird life that's very unique to the area as well. This is called a woodhen, and these birds can only be found on Lord Howe Island, and they nest in the ground, not up in the trees, so you can see the woodhens all throughout the island. The hiking, as I said, is magnificent, and it's very, very easy. There's lots of trails, there's lots of guided trails, there's also guided walks and whatnot that people can do. It's a very, very slow-paced, relaxed island. There's no shopping malls, there's no nightclubs, there's no discos. It's very relaxed, it's very laid back, it's all about getting in touch with nature and with the natural beauty. For the keen golfers, there's a championship-style golf course, so people can take a break from their nature walks and play a round of golf. And there's also first-class accommodation. So we recommend the Capella Lodge, which is an eco-retreat built with the natural ecology in mind and very much in keeping with the whole look and feel of the island. It is a luxury retreat, but in a tropical setting. So again, very casual, very laid back. No need to pack the ball gowns or the tiaras when people are going to Lord Howe Island. It is very, very relaxed. Of course, like all of the 5-star luxury resorts in Australia these days, they have beautiful lounge areas, they have beautiful pools, they have beautiful spa facilities as well. So, you know, anything that people want to do, they can spend 2, 3, 4 days and have plenty of options, a day of golf, a day of hiking, a day of snorkeling or diving, and then they've got beautiful food and beverage to enjoy every night with their menu changing every single day, so they won't be bored with dining every night at the same restaurant. Of course, being an island, most of the food at Capella is Pacific themed with seafood, but obviously if we've got big meat eaters out there, there's lots of meat options for them, as well as vegetarian options and vegan options. The accommodation, as I said, is all first class. So there's a range of different accommodation, from a standard room to luxury suite. And then, of course, when you call through to reservations, the Res Girls will be able to give you all the different pricing for all the different room types, whether it be for a family or for a couple. We can quote whatever would be the best for your specific clients and what their requirements may be. Capella Lodge is set on Lovers Bay, which is a beautiful sheltered beach. So beautiful for romantic walks on the beach, and as I said, for a lovely luxury getaway, getting in touch with nature. If your clients want a more Great Barrier Reef experience, then they can't go past Hamilton Island and Hayman Island. And this is the self-indulgent part of the webinar, because I've just spent a bit of time on Hamilton Island and Hayman Island in the last month. So as well as sharing our standard recommendations, I'm also going to give you a bit of what I did in the last month or so, and give you a bit of an insight into my holiday. As you probably know, we all did the Amazing Aussie Adventure in August, and it culminated, we had our 6 groups of 12 in each group, and then we all came together and culminated on Hamilton Island for a big trade day and a gala dinner. So the first time I was on Hamilton Island in August, it was with my colleagues, Andrew and Leah. You can see us all squatting down in the front there, with our Ensemble agents, and then also with our other members of the sales team, with their agents from their educationals as well. Hamilton Island, when we were there in August, the weather was absolutely picture postcard perfect, which you've just seen. The islands do receive a little more rainfall in January, February, which is the monsoon month. And also the temperatures get quite a bit warmer from November through till sort of February, March, which is up in the 80s and 90s. In the winter months, from April, May through till August, September, it's much more mild in the 60s and 70s, but it never drops below that. It never drops below, you know, 20 degrees in the daytime. Hamilton Island is at the southern tip of the Whitsundays, and it's a very, very large island, and it's quite diverse. You can fly direct from Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Proserpine or Mackay, which are 2 regional airports in Queensland, and you fly direct into the Great Barrier Reef Airport, which is the name of the airport on Hamilton Island. There's a huge range of accommodation on Hamilton Island, and I'll take you through some of that, but whether it be for families looking for apartment style, or whether it be honeymooners, whether it be budget travellers, or whether it be your very, very high-end luxury clients, there is something for absolutely everybody on Hamilton Island. There is also plenty of activities to see and do on the island. There's all water-based activities which are all free of charge, like the stand-up paddle boarding, kayaking, there's catamarans, there's lots of different things for people to see and do. People can also hire motorised boats and go out for a day of fishing. They can do paraflying. They can go and do whale watching, or they can book a reef tour, and they can do an optional tour out to the outer Great Barrier Reef for absolutely pristine snorkeling and scuba diving out on the Great Barrier Reef. One of the things that my group did when we were there, when Andrew and I were there with our Amazing Aussie Adventure, was to visit Whitehaven Beach. And Whitehaven Beach is one of the most famous beaches in the world. I think it made the list of the top 10 beaches in the world. And it's this absolutely amazing white powder, and to see it from the air is absolutely spectacular. But even just to do a walk from the beach up to the lookout, which is where our group is here, you can see we were all very excited up there at the lookout. It is just absolutely gorgeous. And this is just a little happy snap off my iPhone, so you can see that the colour and the weather and everything else that we had there in August was beautiful. This is the middle of winter in the Whitsundays. Now, we were very, very lucky with our group, and we all had a helicopter, 6-minute helicopter ride over the reef, over the Great Barrier Reef from Whitehaven. There's Rachel and I in our little helicopter. They're just little 2-seater helicopters. And then you can see we took off from the beach there. There's the rest of the group watching us on the beach. And then we circled around over Whitehaven Beach, up and down the island and the coast, and then come back into land. So it really was an absolutely amazing experience. Excuse me. There's also jet skis. There's all the modern equipment that people would like to do when they're on the islands as well. That's all available if you've got families, if you've got kids, teenagers. I can assure you they won't be bored. There's lots of things for them to do, but as well also experiencing the magic of the Great Barrier Reef, which of course is one of the World Heritage listed areas. Adjacent to Hamilton Island, which you can just see in the background there, you can see one of the towers there in the background of the Reef View Hotel. Right adjacent to the island is Dent Island, which is where the championship golf course is located. And there's a little shuttle boat that goes across from the main harbour at Hamilton Island across to the golf course. Even if you don't have golfers, it's a beautiful place to visit to go across for lunch in the golf club for the day. They do a special package which includes the ferry across and a lunch, or you can do a golf package. Of course, as I said, Hamilton Island has a beautiful luxury day spa, like all the luxury resorts that we sell, and there's also a sports club that services all the different accommodation. Nature walks. 70% of the island is national park, and 30% of the island is inhabited. One of the really lovely things to do is to visit the wildlife park. And here you can cuddle a koala, like you can see I'm doing here. You can go and have breakfast with the koalas and then have your photo taken when you cuddle the koala. And again, that's the package. It includes breakfast and the photo. That can be emailed to you, or you can get a hard copy. Now, there's no cars, or there's very, very few cars on Hamilton Island. Everybody uses buggy for their transport. And if you're staying at Qualia, which I'll show you in a moment, a buggy is included with every pavilion that's booked at Qualia. If you're staying at one of the other accommodation options within Hamilton Island, then you can hire a buggy for the day or for the whole period that you're there. But it is very, very easy to walk all around the island. It's not necessary to have a buggy. You can walk backwards and forwards to this area, which is down at the marina. I had fish and chips one night down on the marina, which was beautiful. There's a lot of different food and beverage options down there. Our whole team had dinner at the Italian restaurant down there, which Leah and Andrew will tell you was absolutely beautiful. But then also when I was back there staying at Qualia on my holidays, we came down here and had lunch at the pub one night as well, which was also fantastic. Every accommodation will give you their daily island activity guide, and there's a whole range of free things for the kids to do, as well as different sort of little paid activities as well. But there's tons and tons of free activities that people can do. It also gives you their food and wine guide so that they can see all the different dining options that they can have every day. So the different accommodation options that I mentioned. So there's the Reef View Hotel, which is the main accommodation on the island. It's around a 3.5 to 4 star hotel. This is the room type that Leah and I shared when we stayed there during the amazing Aussie adventure. And you can see the rooms are very large. They have a very large balcony, and they're very, very comfortable. There's also the suite accommodation as well that includes the little lounge dining area as well. And these are on the top floors of the hotel. And then there's also 1 and 2 bedroom terrace suites. So if you've got families and they want those extra bedrooms, then that's also available for them as well. There's also the presidential suites. So if you've got luxury clients, if you've got people that want that extra room, if they're going to be wanting to doing entertaining within their suites with a larger dining area, then that's available for them too. The one recommendation that Leah and I will both give you, I'm sure Andrew will too, I wasn't in his room, but I'm sure it was the same. This was one of the locals that pops by. The recommendation is always, always close your balcony doors, because the sulphur-crested cockatoos are very, very smart, and they will come into the room and they will hunt down your minibar and take the chips and the biscuits, and any food that you have lying around the room will disappear in an instant. So it's so fantastic to have the wildlife there all around you, the beautiful birds. We saw kangaroos right in front of the Reef View Hotel. Down here where we were having breakfast one morning, the sulphur-crested cockatoos came and joined us and tried to steal the bacon off my plate. And then we moved to Qualia. So after the group left and came back to North America, I continued on holidays and my boyfriend joined me, and we went and stayed at Qualia. Qualia was voted the best hotel in Australia for 2 years in a row. And you may remember 4 years ago when Oprah visited with 300 of her audience members, about 50 of them went to Hamilton Island to start off Oprah's amazing Aussie adventure, and she was staying here at Qualia. This is where you walk into Qualia. This is the main reception area and the main lounge area. There is a little lap pool up here as well, but I never saw anybody using the pool here. Everybody uses the pool down at the beach. But up here is where as well as the reception, it's also where the main bar area is, and the main restaurant where breakfast and dinner are served. Down at the pool level, at the beach level, sorry, is the infinity pool. And then just to the left there, you can see another restaurant and bar area, and this is where lunch is served. So you have beautiful sunbeds with nice thick mattresses all around the pool, or if you don't want to be right at the pool side, and if you want to be more covered and sheltered, these are the cabanas that surround the infinity pool as well. The restaurant, as I said, down by the pool is where lunch is served if people want to have lunch on the resort. But as I mentioned, you get a buggy with every pavilion. So people can take off for lunch, go into the marina, they can take off for dinner, they can take off and explore around the island if they don't want to be there on the resort 24/7. The food at the Long Pavilion up in the main dining room was absolutely sensational, as you would expect. We did have a degustation dinner there one night, which was absolutely beautiful. But as I mentioned, it is also where my boyfriend Christian and I had breakfast every morning. So you can see the sort of view that we had for breakfast at Qualia up at the Long Room. If people don't want to dine in the long room or down at the beach restaurant for lunch, they can dine in their own pavilion all day. And the pavilions are very, very spacious, and they have beautiful terraces. So it's a lovely place to have breakfast or lunch or dinner in the privacy of your pavilion. The pavilions are very, very private. This is where I stayed. This is the lead-in pavilion, which is called a leeward pavilion. You can see it has a nice little lounge area, but it also has a very big terrace. Then moving up from there is the windward pavilion, which is exactly the same as the leeward pavilion, except it has a plunge pool on the terrace as well. Or you can stay where Oprah stayed, which is in the beach house. So this is if people are wanting to do entertaining, if they're wanting that big, huge luxury experience, they can stay in the beach house. And there's only one of these in Qualia. There's around 30 or 40 leeward pavilions and windward pavilions, and then one of the beach house. As I mentioned before, all the non-motorised water activities are included, but one of the really, really lovely things to do, which was also included, is the personal beach drop-off. Now, this, of course, is the Qualia standard photo, and you might think, oh, the beach isn't that private, or it doesn't look that good, or this is just for the photo. But Christian and I also did the beach drop-off, and when we arrived, the mattresses, the towels were set up. We had the little picnic basket there in the middle that had salads and sandwiches, cold drinks, cookies, and this is where we were dropped off on our personal beach for our day, which was very private, very gorgeous. Believe it or not, I did go to the health club every morning and do a yoga class. So this is the spa and the health facilities at Qualia, and the yoga class was only 45 minutes, very relaxed. Not too early, I think it was at 8:15, finished at 9 a.m. Plenty of time to then head off to breakfast before breakfast finished at 10:30. Now, a lot of you are aware that we have the Jean-Michel Cousteau Oceans Away Vacation as our philanthropy project for the next 6 months. Jean-Michel Cousteau Ocean Futures Society is involved with protecting the oceans for the future generations, and this is one of the things that that we're very. Oh, what's happened there? Okay, I think we're back in. Perfect. So we do have a package available that includes Hamilton Island, staying at the Reef View Hotel, and that's available on the Travel To website. Now, I've just, we're running a little out of time, so I am going to speed up through Hayman Island, which, as you can see there, is at the northern tip of the Whitsunday Islands. And Hayman Island has recently rebranded as One and Only. It was closed for 6 months from January through to July, and then reopened as One and Only. So again, your passengers would fly into the Great Barrier Reef Airport on Hamilton Island, and then they would take a 1-hour transfer by boat up to Hayman Island. I was lucky enough to be upgraded to a helicopter transfer to Hayman Island from Hamilton Island, which takes about 10 minutes. So here we are arriving on Hayman Island, and as you can see, we're very excited. There's a whole range of different accommodation on Hayman Island. I won't go into too much detail on it, but there's the Hayman Wing that then offers you a whole different range of rooms on the Hayman wing, from the lagoon room to the ocean room, and then there's premium ocean rooms and the Hayman suites. And again, the girls on reservations can give you all the different room types with all the different pricing. And then there's the pool wing, which looks out over the very famous octagonal Hayman pool. This is the room that I stayed in, the one-bedroom pool suite, which I can assure you was very, very comfortable. The big flat-screen TV in the lounge dining area as well as in the bedroom with the nice little welcome on the screen to me. Down on the ground floor, the pool suites have direct access into the pool. On the upper floors, then you just walk down the stairs into the pool. Again, there's 2-bedroom suites available. There's also beach villas available. And there's also beach houses with their own private pools available. There's also some signature suites. I went and had a look at this one, the Diane von Furstenberg penthouse, which is a bit like a 1960s acid trip. She's an amazing designer, and there's amazing fabric and architecture throughout the suite, but also her own photographs throughout the suite as well. If you've got people that like to do really, to stay in really amazing places, I can highly recommend the signature suites on Hayman Island. Very, very kids friendly, zero entry pool for the young kids, lots of activities, fish feeding, etc., for the older kids. And there's also 8 restaurants where people can dine. This is Fire, which is the fine dining restaurant, which I didn't dine in. Christian and I dined here at Bamboo, which is the Asian-inspired restaurant, and we also dined at the Italian-inspired restaurant as well. I also had a spa treatment, not this one. I had a facial in the spa, which was one of the best facials I've ever had in my life, if not the best facial I've ever had in my life. It was absolutely beautiful. People can also do charters. They can go snorkeling and scuba diving out on the Great Barrier Reef on the outer reef. They can also do the helicopter and the scenic seaplanes that take off right from Hamilton Island, which has its own heliport and has its own seaplanes as well. One of the things that we did was the beach drop-off. Now, unlike at Hamilton Island, where they drop you off on a private beach with no one else around, on Hayman, they drop you at Blue Pearl Bay, which is a very, very famous, incredibly beautiful snorkeling location. So it's not private. There are lots of other people that go to that area as well. But arriving with one and only Hayman, you arrive with your picnic basket, your little chairs, your snorkeling equipment. We had an umbrella. We had a first aid kit. We had absolutely everything that we needed. And then we had the day out there snorkeling. Again, with Jean-Michel Cousteau's Oceans Away Vacations, we have a package that includes Hayman, one and only Hayman, if people would like to do that. And just as a reminder, 4% of every Jean-Michel Cousteau Oceans Away vacation goes to the Jean-Michel Cousteau Ocean Future Society to protect the world's oceans, and your clients get their tax deduction invoice to show the donation that they've made. So it is fully tax deductible. So we're now going to move very quickly from Australia to Fiji, and Andrew is going to show us our favourite island in Fiji, which is Tokariki Island, and then Leah is going to wrap up at the end. So over to you, Andrew.
Thanks, Mel. That was great. So I know we're running out of time, so I'm just going to really super quickly go over my favourite spot in Fiji. So starting with getting to Fiji, it's a 10-hour non-stop flight from LAX. Leaves late at night, 11 o'clock at night, arrives there at 5 o'clock in the morning. So easy connections out to the outer islands from there and that sort of thing. Works really well as a stopover onto Australia or New Zealand as well. So it's only a 4-hour hop down to Sydney or 3 hours down to Auckland from Fiji. So clients can do it in both directions if they want, or on the way home for a few nights. But it also works great as a standalone destination. Climate in Fiji, it's warm year-round. Again, similar to the other islands, it is flipped because it's in the southern hemisphere, so their technical summer is December, January, February, and winter is June, July, August. However, it's not really hot and cold, so it's more a wet and dry season. Their wet season being December, January, February, and dry over the winter months in the southern hemisphere. Being the wet season, it's not that bad. You might get a tropical storm here and there, and then it clears up again. So it is a lot more humid and a little bit warmer, but definitely still a good time to go. Tokariki is really close to the main island. So you fly into Nandi, which is the main international airport, and it is super close. Ways to get there: you can catch the launch or the ferry across from Denarau Marina out onto the to the island. There's also a seaplane option. Nothing like landing in the water right in front of the beach there. Or there's the helicopter. Helicopter transfer takes 13 minutes from Nandi Airport, so it's definitely the quickest way to get right onto the island. And this is what you arrive at. This is the beach you arrive at. There's no jetty or dock on Tokariki, so when you do arrive, either by seaplane or the ferry, it's what they call a wet landing, so you literally get out, put your feet in the water, and walk up onto the beach, which is really quite an experience in itself. And this is the main pool area. I really like this resort because it's very small, quite intimate. They do accept older kids, so 16 and up. So it's just a really nice resort, close to the mainland, as I said, has beautiful beaches. You can actually walk around the island in probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours. That's how small it is. So it's a really great place. Or you can lie by the pool all day as well. Dining-wise, they do have their main restaurant. Is only one restaurant there because it's such a small resort. But they do offer a whole bunch of other things you can do. There's beach picnics. They can do private romantic dinners on the beach at night. In your beret if you'd like to dine there. They do actually, there is actually 2 restaurants. There's the main one, and they have a teppanyaki bar, which is very unique because it's the only one in Fiji. But it's really great to have a professional chef there, and you sit at the table, and they cook in front of you and throw things at you and stuff. It's a lot of fun. The villas are beautiful, very Fijian style. This is the Sunset Pool Villa, which has its own private plunge pool. They are very private, lush tropical gardens out the front, and they open up right onto your own private section of the beach. Very spacious, beautiful rooms, as you can see. These are the beachfront berets as well. Again, private plunge pool, but they have a deck, and it's a little bit, they have their own hammock and that sort of stuff on the beach. Slightly different design, a little bit more modern, but still very Fijian feel. One of the great things about Fiji is the outdoor bathrooms and the outdoor showers. So most of the rooms have these. In fact, all the rooms have these in Tokariki, and it's quite a unique experience to shower outside under the stars or under the sky. What really makes this resort is the people. They've all been there. I've actually met most of these people when I was there. They've been there for a long time. And they're so friendly. They come and meet you down on the beach and sing their welcome song. They know you by first name straight away. They set up, this is as I said, the staff, they have their own band. They'll set up in the dining room and sing songs and stuff. They actually have a CD that you can buy as well. So it's quite an experience getting to know these people. They actually live in their own village on the island as well. So they will take you into the village so you can see how they live and all that sort of stuff, which is, again, a really great experience. The spa is fantastic. It's set up into the mountain. You walk through the door and straight away you feel in this tranquil place, and there's lots of little streams and rivers and everything like that. And I already mentioned the clientele there. Yes, older families is great. Does typically get more honeymooners and couples, but if you do have families, they definitely accept them as long as they're over 16. So that's a quick overview on my favorite resort in Fiji. A couple of things going on for the islands. Look out for the flash sale for Tahiti, which is coming out. You should be receiving a flyer this week. So there's some really great deals coming out for French Polynesia, as well as Fiji. One thing to note, Sonasali Resort, which is another one of our great resorts we sell, is actually closed for renovations. So they're completely redoing it. It's been sold to a new company, so that's going to be really great. Another great alternative in Fiji. A couple more travel deals we have. Look out for these coming out. New Zealand, we've got great packages going for New Zealand, and of course the Cook Islands as well. All right, so that's a super quick overview of my favorite spot in Fiji, and I'll pass back to you to wrap up.
Great, thanks, Andrew. That was fantastic. I'd love to see Tokariki. Definitely on my to-do list. Now, those specials that Andrew was running through, we actually do have information on those in your follow-up email that's going to be coming out just shortly after this presentation. We'll also have links to some other webinars that we're doing next month, as well as some information about Trip to Your Travel Rewards and Incentive Program. Our agent toolkits, currently right now for Jean-Michel Cousteau, if you're interested in the microsite to have several web page content with your branding on it, then you can go to the agent site and download it. Now, for the U.S. members, definitely it's available on your site, but for the Canadians, just so you know, it's going to be a few more days before it gets put onto our side of the agent site as well. But it will be available by the end of the week, and you can download from there. You also have tons of flyers for Jean-Michel Cousteau that you can download as well. So plenty of free marketing tools for you to use, and if you're not already registered for our website, please do so on your follow-up email. There is a link for you there. Andrew, do I have control?
You should do.
I think we'll have to leave the questions and answer them all privately this time because we have run out of time.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Definitely. So what we'll do is we'll email you the answers to all of your questions from today's webinar. And if you had any difficult viewing any of this, we are recording this as well, and it will be available on your Ensemble extranet because I do believe Citrix was having some issues during our presentation today. Our next presentation is going to be based on the Cook Islands, and it's going to be the 25th of November. So definitely there will be a link on your follow-up email to sign up and register for our next presentation. And don't forget, in your follow-up email, we're also going to announce who the lucky draw winner is for today for our second draw to get a seat on our amazing Aussie adventure. So stay tuned for that as well. And next week, we'll be seeing many of you at the Ensemble conference, so we're excited to say hi. And, you know, if you see us, definitely grab us if you've got any questions. There we go. There's a lovely picture of Mel and Andrew at last year's conference winning. It was the marketing award in the U.S., wasn't it, Mel?
It was. So we're still dining out on that a year later. If we don't win it this year, we'll be devastated. We'll still be using last year's photo.
Good job. Well, that's pretty much it for our show today. So I want to thank everybody for coming out and sticking with us, even though we ran over in time. We do apologize, but we hope that you've enjoyed the show. And thank you very much for coming out. Mel and Andrew, would you like to say some closing remarks?
Yes, well, I look forward to seeing you, Leah and Andrew, and everybody in Palm Springs next week. If you would like to contact any of us, here's our contact details. Please jot down our email addresses or our phone numbers if we can do anything at all to help you at any time. And we'll see everybody in Palm Springs.
Excellent. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us today. And yes, see you in Palm Springs.